Hey everyone, welcome to reading class today. I have to apologize as the video starts because I forgot last worksheet from Friday to give the white book pages for the vocab words, so I apologize for that. I'll try to always give those book pages, especially because if you don't look up some of these words in the context, there's so many meanings to some of these words and they can be kind of tricky, like this very first word today. So if you have a white book, I might be a little bit lenient. That means easy on grading that first word because course could mean a few different things. And it's even spelled similarly to like C-O-U-R-S-E course. That would be like a golf course or a running course. This is different. And so that's why it's always really important to look these words up in context. So again, I'll try to be better about giving the white book pages. I apologize, I forgot. Hopefully I'll remember on today's worksheet. So let me know if I ever forget and you want me to get those pages to you, okay? But let's go to page 119 in the black book, and I apologize, I don't have the white book pages in front of me because I didn't add them to the sheet, but white book people, either listen closely today or see if you can find where we are by pausing the video. Course is in the third paragraph on page 119, 3 paragraphs from the top. Really, I guess 4 paragraphs from the top. The boy stared at him. This is that war scene that the giver sent him into. It said, the boy stared at him. Water, he begged again. When he spoke, a new spurt of blood drenched the coarse cloth across his chest and sleeve. So this was probably a little hard of a scene for you to read. I know it was hard for me to read. But he's in this war scene and the giver's showing him war. Remember, that's not something anybody in the community knows anything about. They've tried to get rid of that, right? And he's seeing dying young men. And in some of these wars, these boys that are dying are, 17, 18 years old, sometimes younger, depending on what war it was. So probably someone not too much older than him. And this boy tried to beg him for water and ended up spitting up some more blood, obviously because he's dying, onto his coarse cloth across his chest. So it's something that cloth can be. Coarse literally means rough, not smooth. So like silk cloth would be smooth, whereas like wool cloth, which is probably what he has on, would be more coarse or rough. Okay, head to 122 in the black book, and again in the white book. If you can find it, great. Otherwise, listen really closely today, and tomorrow we'll get you looking them up again. 122. Pervaded is the last sentence of the second to last paragraph on page 122. Jonas felt joy. Here's what it says. Jonas felt the joy of it as soon as the memory began. This is that giver's favorite memory. Sometimes it took a while for him to get his bearings, to find his place. But this time he fit right in and felt the happiness that pervaded the memory. So as soon as he got into this memory, he could just feel the warmth and the joy and the happiness pervading. In other words, spreading. So pervaded means spread out, or filled. And so this joy and happiness in this memory, we'll talk about that memory in a little bit, but spread out and filled the memory. Optimistic, heading to 128. Okay, 128, white book. See if you can help us find it with us. The very, very end of chapter 16, if that helps, white book people. Third paragraph from the top in the black book. Okay. It says, if the last sentence of that third paragraph says, the nurturers were very optimistic about Gabriel's future. There's two people in this world. There are optimists and there are pessimists. Optimists are people who always see the bright side of things. Oh yeah, it's cloudy out, but it'll probably clear up later and it'll be a nice day. Or pessimists are people who always see the negative side of things. Oh, there's clouds out. Oh, my whole day is ruined, right? Or if there's a cup of water, an optimist would say, oh, and there's half of it half filled with water. An optimist would say, good, it's half full. Whereas a pessimist would say, oh, it's already halfway empty, right? Do you see the difference? And maybe you kind of fit in both, but many people fit in one or the other. And as Christians, I think we have extra reason to be optimistic or optimists. So optimistic means hopeful. Or you could even say confident. So hopeful or confident would be good definitions for that one. So let's talk about what you read in chapter 16. It says, describe 2 of the memories that the giver gave to Jonas to help Jonas deal with the horrible memory of war. Yeah, Jonas was having a rough time, right? That was a terrible memory. It sure gave him a lot of trauma, right? So the giver passed him memories like of a birthday party, of museums and paintings and beautiful things for a while. And then finally his favorite memory too. You could talk about that as well. And so what was the giver's favorite memory, number 2? It was a Christmas celebration with a family, right? And Jonas was really surprised to see some people there. Did you catch who that was? He saw some grandparents there. He didn't know they were grandparents. He's not even sure what grandparents are, right? Because in the community that Jonas lives in, as soon as kids move out, parents move into like a retirement community, and then they move into the house of the old. And in this community, you just really forget about them. you don't follow them. And so nobody has, well, they all have grandparents, but nobody really knows who they are, right? Kind of a sad thing about that community, that Jonas is realizing he's missing out on living in this community, right? What had Jonas never really thought about in regards to his parents before? He had never thought about who his parents' parents were, right? Who his grandparents were, and the fact that he has grandparents. And that was really weird to him, that his parents have parents. He just, in that community, you just don't think about that, right? It's strange. What new word or concept did Jonas learn about? He learned the word of love, right? In that memory that was shared with him, he could feel the love of that family for each other. And that was, again, not something that he's ever felt before, because in that community, they tried to get rid of love and this whole idea of love, right? Because they felt that love causes jealousy and hatred and divorces if people get married, and they wanted to get rid of all that stuff. So love is one of the things they got rid of. And that was one of the reasons why you took those pills too, so you wouldn't have feelings for other people, right? Kind of crazy. Number 5, what question did Jonas ask his parents when he got home? So he loved that feeling of love. It was good, right? He said, man, this is something we really should have, right? So when he got home, he asked his parents, do you love me? What surprising answer did he receive? They were kind of upset with him, right? Oh, we don't use that word. Be more precise with your language, they said, right? We enjoy you. We're proud of your accomplishments, but don't talk about love. That's a dangerous word. That's, again, his parents had grown up in a community too, where that word just wasn't used. There's no such thing, right? They thought and they believed. That's really sad. Love is such a good thing, right? Number 6, what new update is shared about Gabriel? What was Jonas secretly doing? So Gabriel did make some progress and was brought back to the nurturing center, but struggled once he got away and had to go back to Jonas' family's house, right? So he was sleeping in Jonas's room because Jonas was the hero. He was the only one who could get him to settle down. And why? Well, what was he secretly doing? He was continuing to pass memories to him, which is why Gabe would sleep so well in his room. He'd pass him all these happy and comforting memories. And that was really what was helping Gabriel. And when he was away from Jonas, he wasn't doing so well, right? So Gabriel's kind of still in a little bit of rough shape, right? And in number 7, what was something Jonas did for the first time at the end of the chapter? What do you think this is going to lead to happening? So for the first time, he didn't take his pill, the pill that's supposed to block feelings that he would have for people of the opposite gender, right? So what do you think is going to happen? I think you can probably make a good guess. I'm not going to say anything because I've read the book, obviously, so I can't make a guess anymore. But if he's not taking a pill, that's going to prevent him from having feelings for other people. Maybe you can think of somebody or some people in this book that maybe he'll develop feelings for. We'll see. Okay, but that's kind of an interesting twist to the book, right? Remember how we had talked about our reading concept or our reading skill of recognizing that different people have different perspectives or points of view, and that's part of what makes a story really exciting and interesting, right? I think that skill is good for us to bring back today because we really see that happening now, right? We're seeing Jonas think that it's unfair that the receiver takes all bad memories, right? And whereas the rest of the people in the community, other than the other receiver maybe, right, feel it's a good thing that they don't have to think about any of these bad things, right? We're seeing these different perspectives that Jonas is developing from the rest of the community. Love. To Jonas, love is good, right? Why should we get rid of it? Whereas the others, it's not a good word even, right? His parents even got upset because they've been raised in a community all the time, or they haven't been exposed to love or felt love because they've taken their medication their whole lives, right? And that's crazy. And he's starting to question about grandparents, right? Like, why don't we have grandparents around? That was a good thing. I understand they get taken care of in an old person's home or a community, a retirement community when their kids move out. But whereas the others, would say it's better to send old people away. We don't have to deal with all the problems then, right? We don't have to watch them die. We don't have to watch them get old or sick or get weak. And so you can see Jonas is starting to really have a different perspective on whether or not this community and the way things are running are a good thing. Whereas everybody else in the community, other than maybe the receiver or the giver, seems to feel that everything, the way it works is a good thing and we should keep following the rules. And so we're going to see that continue to build and build and build, and that's going to create tension. We've already seen Jonas get angry about the way things are and thinks it's unfair, how the life is the way it is, and how he has to take all the burden of these bad memories, he and the other receiver, right? And so we'll see if that continues to build and if Jonas' anger and his opinions continue to change and get stronger as this book goes along. But hopefully you're seeing that's really building some tension because of different perspectives, right? Jonas has very different perspectives than many of the other characters in our book. So watch for that to continue to build as we read chapter 17 today. Well, come join me. 1:30 if you're in the black book, and I'm sure you can find it in the white book too. Here we go. Listen for our code word, by the way, as we go along today. Today is declared an unscheduled holiday. Jonas, his parents, and Lily all turned in surprise and looked at the wall speaker from which the announcement had come. It happened so rarely, and it was such a treat for the entire community when it did. Adults were exempted from the day's work. Children from school and training and volunteer hours, the substitute laborers who would be given a different holiday took over all the necessary tasks, nurturing, food delivery, and care of the old, and the community was free. Jonas cheered and put his homework folder down. He had been about to leave for school. School was less important to him now, and before much more time passed, his formal schooling would end. But still, for 12s, though, they had begun their adult training, and there were the endless lists of rules to be memorized, and for the newest technology to be mastered. He wished his parents, sister, and Gabe a happy day, and rode down the bicycle path looking for Asher. He had not taken the pills now for 4 weeks. The settings had returned, and he felt a little guilty and embarrassed about the pleasurable dream that came to him, top of page 131, as he slept. But he couldn't go back to the world of no feelings that he had lived in so long. So notice he's already noticing he's developing attractions again in his dreams and things for people of the opposite gender, right? Top of 131. And his new heightened feelings permeated a greater realm than simply his sleep. Though he knew that his failure to take the pills accounted for some of it, he thought that the feelings came also from the memories. Now he could see all the colors, and he could keep them too, so that trees and grass and bushes stayed green in his vision, Gabriel's rosy cheeks stayed pink even when he slept, and apples were always, always red. Now through the memories he had seen oceans and mountains and lakes and streams that gurgled, hey, there's my name, that gurgled through woods, and now he saw the familiar wide river beside the path differently, by the way. That is our code word for today. Because my name showed up in the book, we're going with gurgled as the code word, okay? Gurgled. It's like my last name with a D added on at the end. Pretty cool, right? I'm pretty famous. You like that? All right, so gurgled is our code word. Thanks for continuing to read with us, though. He saw all of the light and color and history it contained and carried in its slow-moving water, and he knew that there was an elsewhere from which it came, and elsewhere to which it was going. Middle of 131. On this unexpected casual holiday, he felt happy, as he had always had on holidays, but with a deeper happiness than ever before. Thinking as he always did about the precision of language, Jonas realized that it was a new depth of feelings that he was experiencing. Somehow they were not all the same as the feelings that every evening in every dwelling, every citizen analyzed with endless talk. I felt angry because someone broke the play area rules, Lily had said once, making a fist with her small hand to indicate her fury. Her family, Jonas among them, had talked about the possible reasons for rule breaking and the need for understanding and patience, until Lily's fist had relaxed and her anger was gone. But Lily had not felt anger, Jonas realized now. Shallow, top of 132, shallow impatience and exasperation, that was all Lily had felt. He knew that with certainty because he now knew what anger was. Now he had, in the memories, experienced injustice and cruelty, and he had reacted with rage that welled up so passionately inside of him that the thought of discussing it calmly at the evening meal was unthinkable. So Jonas is realizing without these powerful memories that he has, that no one else has, people don't really have strong emotions and feelings. They're almost like robots, right? Jonas is beginning to realize that if you don't have deep memories, how can you truly have deep feelings? Interesting point, right? Top of page 132, second paragraph. I felt sad today, he heard his mother say, and they had comforted her. But now Jonas had experienced real sadness. He had felt grief. He knew that there was no quick way for quick comfort for emotions like those. These were deeper, and they did not need to be told. They were felt. Today he felt happiness. Asher! He spied his friend's bicycle leaning against a tree at the edge of the playing field. Nearby, other bikes were strewn about on the ground. On a holiday, the usual rules of order could be disregarded. He skidded to a stop and dropped his own bike beside the others. Hey, Ash! He shouted, looking around. There seemed to be no one in the play area. Where are you? A child's voice came from behind a nearby bush and made the sound, pow, pow, pow. A female 11 named Tanya staggered forward from where she had been hiding. Dramatically, she crutched her stomach and stumbled about in a zigzag pattern, groaning. "Oh, you got me," she called, and fell to the ground grinning. Blam! Jonas, standing on the side of the playing field, recognized Asher's voice. He saw his friend aiming an imaginary weapon in his hand, dart from behind one tree to another. Blam! "You're in my line of ambush, Jonas. Watch out!" Jonas stepped back. He moved behind Asher's bike and knelt so that he was out of sight. It was a game he had often played with the other children, a game of good guys and bad guys, a harmless pastime that used up their contained energy and ended only when they all lay posed in freakish postures on the ground. He had never recognized it before as a game of war. So now he knows where that game came from. Before it was just a silly game they played, right? Like you might play Nerf guns in your basement or something, right? But now that he knows what war is, we'll see how he reacts. Attack! The shout came from behind the small storehouse where equipment was kept. The three children dashed forward, their imaginary weapons in firing position. From the opposite side of the field came an opposing shout, "Counterattack!" From their hiding place, a horde of children, Jonas recognized Fiona in the group, emerged, running in a crouched position, firing across the field. Several of them stopped and grabbed their own shoulders and chest with exaggerated gestures and pretended to be hit. They dropped to the ground and lay suppressing giggles. Feelings surged within Jonas. He found himself walking forward into the field. "You're hit, Jonas!" Asher yelled from behind the tree. "Pow! You're hit again!" Jonas stood alone in the center of the field. Several of the children raised their heads and looked at him uneasily. The attacking armies slowed and emerged from their crouched positions and watched to see what he was doing. Top of 134. In his mind, Jonas saw again the face of the boy who had lain dying on a field and had begged him for water. He suddenly had a choking feeling. It was as if it were difficult to breathe. One of the children raised an imaginary rifle and made an attempt to destroy him with a firing noise. Pew! Then they were all silent, standing awkwardly, and the only sound was of Jonas's shuddering breaths. He was struggling not to cry. Do you know what we call this? This is something that soldiers who return from war often struggle with. We call it post-traumatic stress disorder. Often soldiers who have experienced some really awful things, it doesn't even just have to be soldiers, it could be people too who've been abused or beat up. When you experience things like that and things in your memory remind you of those bad memories, it can cause you to feel like you're almost there again, and you go through stress and hyperventilate. And so some soldiers, for instance, when they hear fireworks, are reminded of explosions on a battlefield where their friends were killed or they almost died, and some of them just lose it and lose their temper or break down and just really go into depressive moods and things like that. So that's what Jonas is going through, because he's really kind of lived through a war, at least through a memory, right? Gradually, when nothing happened and nothing changed, the children looked at each other nervously and went away. He heard the sounds as they righted their bicycles and began to ride down the path that led from the field. Only Asher and Fiona remained. "What's wrong, Jonas? It's only a game," Fiona said. "You ruined it," Asher said in an irritated voice. "Don't play it anymore," Jonas pleaded. "I'm the one who's training for assistant recreation director," Asher pointed out angrily. "Games aren't your area of expertise." Expertise, Jonas corrected him automatically. "Whatever, you can't say what we play, even if you are going to be the new receiver." Asher looked wearily at him. "I apologize for not paying you the respect you deserve," he mumbled. "Asher," Jonas said. He was trying to speak carefully and with kindness, to say exactly what he wanted to say. "You had no way of knowing this. I didn't know it myself until recently. But it's a cruel game. In the past I said I apologize, Jonas." Jonas sighed. It was of no use. Of course Asher couldn't understand. "I accept your apology, Asher," he said wearily. "Do you want to go for a ride along the river, Jonas?" Fiona asked, biting her lip with nervousness. Jonas looked at her. She was so lovely. Remember, he didn't take his pill. For a fleeting instant, he thought he would like nothing better than to ride peacefully along the river path, laughing and talking with his gentle female friend. But he knew that such times had been taken from him now, so he shook his head. After a moment, his two friends turned and went to their bikes. He watched as they rode away. Jonas trudged to the bench beside the storehouse and sat down. Overwhelmed with feelings of loss, his childhood, his friendships, his carefree sense of security, all of these things seemed to be slipping away. With his new heightened feelings, he was overwhelmed by sadness at the way others had laughed and shouted, playing at war. But he knew that they could not understand why without the memories. He felt such love for Asher and for Fiona, but they could not feel it back without the memories. And he could not give them those. Jonas knew with certainty that he could change nothing. Back in their dwelling that evening, Lily chatted merrily about the wonderful holiday she had had, playing with her friends, having her midday meal outdoors. and she confessed, sneaking a very short try on her father's bicycle. "I can't wait till I get my very own bicycle next month. Father's is too big for me, I fell," she explained, matter-of-factly. "Good thing Gabe wasn't in the child seat." "A very good thing," Mother agreed, frowning at the idea of it. Gabriel waved his arms at the mention of himself. He had begun to walk just the week before. The first steps of a new child were always the occasion for celebration at the nurturing center, Father said, but also for the introduction of a discipline wand. Now Father brought the slender instrument home with him each night in case Gabriel misbehaved. But he was a happy and easygoing toddler. Now he moved unsteadily across the room, laughing. "Gay," he chirped. "Gay." That's his name, right, Gabriel. It was the way he said his own name. Jonas brightened. It had been a depressing day for him after such a bright start, but he set his glum thoughts aside. He thought about starting to teach Lily to ride so that she could speed off proudly after her ceremony of 9, which would be coming soon. It was hard to believe that it was almost December again, that almost a year had passed since he had become a 12. He smiled as he watched the new child plant one small foot carefully before the other, grinning with glee at his own steps as he tried them out. "I want to get to sleep early tonight," Father said. "Tomorrow's a busy day for me. The twins are being born tomorrow, and the test results show that they're identical." "One for here, one for elsewhere," Lily chanted. "One for here, one for—" "Do you actually take it elsewhere, Father?" Jonas asked. "No, I just have to make the selection. I weigh them, hand the larger over to the nurturer, who's standing by waiting, and then I get the smaller one all cleaned up and comfy. Then I perform a ceremony of release, and—" He glanced down, grinning at Gabriel. "Then I wave bye-bye," he said in his special sweet voice he used when he spoke to the new child. He waved his hand in the familiar gesture. Gabriel giggled and waved bye-bye back to him. "And somebody else comes to get him? Somebody from elsewhere?" "That's right, Jonas Bonus." Jonas rolled his eyes in embarrassment that his father used the silly pet name. Lily was deep in thought. What if they give the little twin a name elsewhere? A name like, maybe Jonathan. And here in our community at his naming, the twin that we kept here is given the name Jonathan, and then there would be 2 children with the same name, and they would look exactly the same. And somebody, maybe when they were 6, or one group of 6s would go visit another community on a bus, and there in the other community, in the other group of 6s would be Jonathan, who would be exactly the same as the other Jonathan. And then maybe they would get mixed up and take the wrong Jonathan home, and maybe his parents would notice, and then, young kids can just ramble on like that, right? She paused for breath. "Lily," Mother said, "I have a wonderful idea. Maybe when you become a 12, they'll give you the assignment of storyteller. I don't think we've had a storyteller in the community for a long time. But if I were on the committee, I would definitely choose you for the job." Top of 138. Lily grinned. "I have a better idea for one more story," she announced. "What if actually we were all twins and didn't know it? And so elsewhere there would be another Lily and another Jonas and another Father and another Asher and another Chief Elder and another—" Father groaned. "Lily," he said, "it's bedtime." All right, have a good rest of your day, guys.